What's up, YouTube? Sunday morning here. I'm chilling with my coffee and sitting in my pajamas around the house here in Nashville. I wanted to make this video today because, well, first, I haven't made a video in a couple of weeks since the Dawkins video, or at least I haven't put one up. I've actually made about 5 or 6 videos, but they really just haven't been the quality that I want them to be. And my particular view is, if I'm doing a video on a topic and more than a week or so has gone by, it's almost like you've missed it. It spoils, so I've got a lot of great videos, but if I don't get them up within a certain amount of time, I wind up not even posting them. I got to get better about making videos during the week. With my work schedule, I'm so pressed for time and I'm so exhausted by the time I get home that I don't really make videos during the week. I pretty much only make them on the weekend. And I've actually been trying to plan out and streamline the channel and say what I want to do. Okay, I want to make these videos on these days and post them on these days. But going into this, I did not realize how much time it actually takes. Filming videos, doing extra takes, loading the videos on the camera or on the computer, editing them down, and that's without even putting anything in. I don't really do anything special. I basically film a video, I cut it down, cut out all the crap and the pauses and all that stuff, and then I post it. And even that, I wasn't even aware of how much work went into it. So just trying to make those types of adjustments. I am planning on doing a segment that I'll probably start this week and put up next week, because a lot of what my channel is based on is the fact that I am not a capitalist and that I'm actually an anti-capitalist. And I think that a lot of people share that particular value set, but they're just kind of foggy because they can't see through their own benefit or what they get out of capitalism. So I'm actually going to start a video series called This Week in Capitalism. The first episode will probably be up next week, and it will probably include last week and this week, because there was a couple of really good stories I want to put in there from last week, and that's something that I'd like to get up every week, just so people can see the actual negatives, because it's so well hidden from the public, all the bad things that capitalism brings to us. We just look at our iPhones and our Xboxes and say, look, everything's great, but it's really not that way. So look forward to that. The microphone here is actually for what I was attempting to do, was to have a 1-hour podcast every Sunday that would be put up, plus videos. The filming of the podcast has not worked out well at all. Trying to record the audio separately for the podcast and film it. For one thing, my camera sucks and it can't film that long of a video. So I'll just have to wait until I get a new camera. Also, I apologize for how this looks with all these shadows and everything. I have some lights coming. I know that most of my videos are just going to be me in front of a camera, but I would like to at least get to the quality of like an Amazing Atheist, where it looks good, even if it's just me talking into a screen. But that's what is going on with the channel. That's what I'm planning on doing. But planning on getting more into it and really dedicating some time during the week to it, even though, like I said, I work, like most Americans, 50, 60 hours a week, and I'm just wiped out. But this particular video is about the conundrum that we face with this year's presidential election. This will be, I was actually too young to vote in 2000. I wasn't too young, but there was not enough time between me turning 18 and the actual election for me to get registered and all that. So my first election was in 2004, so this will actually be my 4th presidential election. And it's definitely the hardest choice to make. I mean, obviously, you guys, if you've watched my videos, you know that Bernie Sanders is the only candidate that I actually like in any way. I'm actually further left than he is, and I think that he's basically a modern-day FDR, but that's a dramatic improvement over anything else that we've had in my lifetime. All the presidents, except for George H.W. in my lifetime, have been pretty god-awful, and I'll go into those things a little bit later with other videos. But Obviously, we just had Super Tuesday this past week. I was able to get in. It's actually my first primary that I've ever voted in because, you know, I never really cared that much amongst the Democratic nominees. I just knew I was going to vote Democrat. I don't really vote Democrat straight line anymore. I'm not really interested in the two parties, but when push comes to shove, that's generally who I go for, because a lot of times, especially in Tennessee, there isn't even a third party candidate running. In a lot of elections, you'll go in and the ballot, almost all the categories will be just a Republican. They won't even run a Democrat in most of those things. So that's how conservative we are in Tennessee. And given the Super Tuesday results, you know, granted, you guys have seen a whole lot of speculation one way or the other. It's over. It's all, you know, Clinton's got it in the bag. On the Bernie side, people say, well, these were just conservative states that don't matter in the general election. We've got to wait until Ohio and those types of kind of more Democratic bastion states. You know, I don't really know how it's going to go, to be honest with you. I know that we got thumped a lot worse than I thought we were going to on Super Tuesday, and it does probably look like Hillary Clinton's going to be the nominee, so I'm kind of just working off of that. I'm still volunteering and donating for Bernie Sanders and pushing for him as best I can, but it doesn't look great. And so that really raises the question for me, what to do in the general election if Bernie Sanders doesn't win. Now, most people are going to say, obviously, you vote for Hillary Clinton. And I promised myself earlier this year and last year, when I would read and listen to high-profile liberals like Bill Maher and people at Salon and places like that trying to bully us into voting for Hillary once she inevitably gets handed the nomination, which looks like it's going to happen even though most voters don't seem to want her, which is of course bullshit. I promised myself I wouldn't be bullied into that, even with the threats of the Supreme Court nominees. Now, every president at this point gets about two Supreme Court nominees if they have 2 terms. Obviously, Obama's got a third here because of the death of Antonin Scalia, but the Republicans have made it clear that they're going to block that nomination. So normally any president is going to have 2 Supreme Court nominees, and the Supreme Court is way too powerful. In fact, even in a state of gridlock that we have in the United States now, they're still able to push through major changes to our country. The gutting of the Voting Rights Act, the gerrymandering. I mean, they handed the election to George W. Bush in 2000, even though he lost. Even by electoral count, he lost. They just cheated in Florida. I mean, this is an unbelievably powerful branch of government, but I promised myself I would not vote for a bad candidate just on the threat of Supreme Court justices being more conservative. But the death of Antonin Scalia just kind of changes that, because it goes from being the hypothetical, which could possibly not even happen. I mean, there's no guarantee that a president's going to get nominees right, to there is a space open. The next president will get to fill it. To me, that does, that ups the ante of this decision a lot more. Now, granted, I'm going to be honest with you guys, this is all academic. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. This is a super conservative state. They, anti-gay bills, anti-abortion bills, all this crazy shit. You read about it all the time. It's almost always from Tennessee. So it doesn't matter really who I vote for, because whoever I vote for isn't going to win anyway, no matter if it's Jill Stein, the Green Party, Hillary Clinton. The Republicans are going to win this state, which sucks, but in the end, it all just kind of makes this discussion hypothetical. But if I were living in Ohio, Florida, Pennsylvania, Colorado, these places, it actually is going to matter quite a bit. And so I'm thinking to myself, is a Supreme Court nominee or a Supreme Court vacancy, is that enough to vote for a bad candidate? And Hillary Clinton's a bad candidate. All the Republicans are obviously worse, except maybe John Kasich. He's got a lot of anti-worker tendencies there, but of course all the Republicans do. At least he's not a fanatic, and he's not a complete asshole, and he's not a bigot and a xenophobe like Ted Cruz and of course Donald Trump. He's not a misogynist like Donald Trump. He's not a crazy pro-lifer like Marco Rubio. He's just, you know, he's just slightly worse than Hillary Clinton. And he may even be better as far as his Wall Street ties. I don't know. But that's all academic too, because he's not going to win. It's probably going to be Ted Cruz and Donald Trump, or Donald Trump. And those two candidates are by far the worst. People say that Donald Trump shouldn't be elected president because he doesn't have an experience. Ted Cruz is more frightening to me because he does have experience and he is that crazy. I mean, he basically wants an American theocracy. It's terrifying. It's a terrifying thought. I don't like the way that Donald Trump has run his campaign, obviously. He's sexist, he's misogynistic, he's xenophobic, he's had all this racist, bigoted language his entire campaign. But I don't think he believes any of that shit. I think he looked at the Republican base, saw what he had to do to win the primary, knew they would still vote for him after he changed his positions after the primary, and so he just went out guns blazing, anti-immigration, and picked up a lot of steam, and it gets carried through. He's a New York liberal, okay? He's for a progressive tax system. He's for universal health care. He's for cutting the military budget and using it to pay for things like infrastructure and education. As far as the other than the building a wall, which is fucking retarded, and the anti-immigration stance, which is horrible and immoral, he's actually going to have more liberal policies than Hillary Clinton. He may pull the country actually back to the left. But then again, do you reward somebody for running such a disgusting campaign? I don't know. We do know that Hillary Clinton will probably vote for pro-choice, fairly liberal, although mostly moderate, Supreme Court justice. But given the fact that Antonin Scalia was as far right-wing as you can be, I mean, this guy defended torture, he defended using the death penalty against innocent people, he called black people, you know, he said that black people would actually do better if they went to remedial colleges. He said that homosexuals, he compared them to bestiality. I mean, he was a pretty horrible person. So anybody is going to be a move to the left from him. I mean, they could nominate another Justice Kennedy who goes probably 60% conservative, 40% liberal, and it's going to move the court way to the left. So, you know, there's that. Now, the Republicans have said they're going to block President Obama's Supreme Court nomination. I guess the thinking is Obama's going to nominate a liberal. If we lose, they're going to nominate a liberal. But if we happen to win the White House, at least we'll have a shot at another conservative justice, right? But the gamble that they're making there is that if they block the Supreme Court nomination of Obama, that might push a lot of really liberal people like myself who would have voted for Jill Stein back to Hillary Clinton, and might actually cost them the White House and the Supreme Court seat. So it's very, very, you know, it's high stakes. It's complicated. None of the candidates besides Bernie Sanders are good, but there's a lot on the line with the Supreme Court nomination, and it's really perplexed me. Obviously, I don't want to vote for Hillary Clinton because of her Wall Street ties. I also don't like the way her supporters have treated Bernie Sanders supporters. I know that seems kind of petty, but there has been a lot of infighting. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the term Bernie bros, but I've been accused of this. Every male, especially white male, who supports Bernie Sanders has been called a Bernie bro, and said not only that we're sexist for not wanting to vote for Hillary Clinton, but that we're also racist, that part of the reason we don't want to vote for her is because she served under President Obama. This is straight out of Joan Walsh from the Salon.com. She's a fucking national journalist, and she's saying that people are racist because they don't want to vote for a white woman because she served under a black president. This is how bad it's gotten. I don't want to reward these people with a presidential election at all. They're disgusting. The mainstream media and all of these mainstream assholes basically have started attacking Bernie supporters with all this crap, and to me it's really pissed me off, to be honest with you. But then what's the alternative? You know, do we, you know, go and vote against Hillary on some high school shit and then we get President Trump? I'll be honest with you, I haven't decided, and luckily I don't have to decide yet. I mean, the primary isn't over. Bernie Sanders is still in it. If you haven't voted in a primary, if you've listened to anything I've just said in the last 5 minutes, you should know that it's a total clusterfuck without him. Go give him $5, tell a friend about him, and go vote for him in your primary, and then maybe we won't have to worry about all this shit. I'll probably have to film an update to this video at some point because I honestly don't know what the hell to do if Bernie Sanders doesn't win the nomination, but we're going to have to figure it out. So you guys can let me know what you think about it and comment in the video, or you can tweet me at Lost in Dixie. I don't know. We'll see. Take care, guys.